Hello, viewers out there. Welcome to today's episode of the Real Estate Lab, where we talk about buying and selling and investing in real estate in the greater Austin area. And today's episode is going to be building a dream house in 2022. I'm Realtor with the Next Level Property Group at Keller Williams Realty. Liberty, would you like to introduce yourself?
What's up, everybody? My name is Liberty Walker. I am a realtor with Realty Austin. You can find me on the internet at Liberty Makes.
Hey, everybody. I go by ianofAustin everywhere on the internet. Excited to talk about what we're talking about today. This is going to be one heck of an episode, so pay attention. Don't forget, you can find us on Spotify, Google, Amazon, and everywhere else you like listening to podcasts and watching videos. To our guest.
Yeah,
Hi.
we have
what up,
Mr.
John?
John Joffrey.
What's up? Thanks for having me, y'all.
So I'll speak a little bit on John. We're very humbled and pleased to have him on our show. He is owner of Revent Builds, which is a national winner of the NARI Contractor of the Year Award. He does remodels, additions, and custom homes. So he's definitely the person to talk to when it comes to building your dream home in the Austin area.
Well,
John.
Thank you guys. I mean, like you say humbled, I'm humbled that y'all would have me on. I really do appreciate it. You can find us at reventbuilds.com, or my Instagram is John, G-I-O-F, John Joff _builds. That's where I'm posting like daily stories on like all the problems and chaos and the shit we have to go through. And then obviously a lot of cool video content and stuff like that. So y'all should definitely check it out if you're interested in building process.
We will check that out. That's awesome. We have so many questions for you. And just look at some of these pictures, guys. I mean, this stuff is luxury, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is top quality here. And I know if you're watching this, you're thinking about your real estate here in Austin. And, you know, to separate two distinct types of builds, there's production builders, which build in different areas. And then there's more custom stuff where I say most of it's central because it's hard to be a production builder in Central Austin. That's where John's specialty is. And he's the person to talk to, because you could see here the Contractor of the Year Award with residential kitchens at $100,000 plus.
$100,000 to $150,000 for a kitchen. That is absolutely going to come up in this conversation today. Let me go ahead and close this. And
just for me to make my Pop-Tarts in.
I know, right? I know.
Well, John, I have a question that's just burning in my mind. So you're building in the Central Austin area. So are you seeing most of the time that's like someone purchases like a tear down, mows it down, and then calls you and is like, John, we have our land. You come over and just make it happen.
Yeah, so there's that. And I would say the majority of what we're actually doing. So we do some spec projects. That means where I buy the land, I tear the house down, I build it. That's probably 10% of what we do. Maybe another 10% is the custom homes that you're talking about. I would say 80% of what we're doing is taking homeowners that have been in their house for quite a while, or very wealthy people that just bought that want to remodel. But most of our clients have a ton of equity. They're refinancing and they're sitting on like a pretty big pile of cash that they want to make the home they've been in to like a forever home. That's pretty much our like ideal client.
That does sound ideal. It really does.
I know.
I love the topic of a dream house in 2022. Yeah, it's not necessarily new construction. Remodels are definitely part of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Liberty.
For sure.
Well, it was just, you say big pile of cash. Are we talking like, I mean, what's a range here? Like that we could set some expectations on how much does it cost if you're going to do it? Let's say a new kitchen, an ADU, and just like an overall facelift.
I mean, probably like $750K would be like the minimum. Most of our projects, like full remodels or big additions, they're between $1 and $2 million.
And that's not just you guys like getting all that profit. I mean, the material itself, like that's where the bulk of the price is, right?
Yeah, usually we try to shoot for 33% of the job cost would go into our profit, but really that goes into all the overhead that we have to do and all that stuff, right? So it does dwindle down. But, you know, when you're talking about, because people will call me, they'll be like, you know, we want to do our kitchen. They explain the whole thing. And our budget's $25,000. And I'm like, well, you know, the appliances are more than that, right? So it's like, these like commodities are just going nuts right now. And people are just buying them up. I mean, so that's a big part of it, is like just all the materials across the board are very expensive.
You were rattling off some numbers earlier. Can you give us an idea of like what you're seeing for some of these appliances?
I mean, some of our appliance packages go, I would say average is 45 grand, probably up to like 75,000.
So we're not talking about your LGs and your Samsungs is what you're telling me.
Right.
Got it.
There's,
okay.
Some of this shit is ordered from like Italy, and it comes with like salt stains from the freaking ship it like voyage it came,
Man, so okay,
you're thinking
like,
about
give us a brand. Like, give us some brands
that.
that, like, we've walked into all sorts of varieties of houses, but it could be a $3 million house, and they are still rocking the GE profile appliances. Give us some brands that we need to be paying attention to.
Well, there's also so what's cool about those companies is GE does have like a high-end product, but like what we're normally seeing is like Thermador's made a really big like entry into this market, where like they're really trying to capitalize into like the Wolf and Sub-Zero. So Wolf and Sub-Zero is like Bentley, right? Thermador is probably like Mercedes. So they have some nice packages, but they're still kind of younger. But they're making a big name. But like a lot of the stuff, like they have these Italian brands like Supreme, I think, and they have like La Cornue is like a French brand, and the range is like 80 grand, so like but I would say that probably 90 to 95% of people are going with Wolf Sub-Zero.
Wolf. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen Sub-Zero, especially obviously the freezers that are double wides and triple wides, commercial grade.
Yeah,
for sure. And for those people at home that are like, man, I want to get my hands on some of these luxury products, keep in mind that these things are back ordered, and the higher tier you go, it's like the less production they're putting out. So it's like the longer you're going to have to wait. So get online now and put that order in. You might get it in a year. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead. We've got a question from AK. He says, is it possible to add a gas fireplace for an existing home that already has a gas line for a stove?
Yes, that is absolutely possible, because you have a gas meter. So technically what you do is you'd run a direct line from your gas meter to the new fireplace. But I think the hardest part about that is, depending, like if you want to do wood burner, you have to have an actual chimney that exits the roof. What you can do though, it's called a direct vent. I would say that's the easiest thing to do, where it's all sealed. You can make it modern or a little more traditional, but then that can just vent out the wall. So you have to have that space for the fireplace. That's probably going to be the bigger complication. Do you have a range, general range? Yeah. Usually, and you can call, there's a couple like Parish & Co. Is a really great company. I would say the fireplace itself is going to be like $5K. Running the gas line and like building out that wall, let's call it like another $5K. You're probably looking at like a minimum of 10 grand.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
While you were talking about that, I was just thinking, I have a client there. We got an inspection report and it said the kitchen doesn't vent out. I was like, seriously, this house was built in the 80s. Of course it doesn't vent out. Like building code, this wasn't updated until 2015 or whatever.
Exactly.
All that to say, so to the kitchen vent out, how much would something like that cost?
So obviously there's a lot of variables, right? If you have if your ceiling is lofted, or like those old school houses that just like the roof is built directly on the rafters, the ceiling is directly up to the rafters, that's tough. You have to get really creative there. If you have a pier and beam house, that's always really easy, because you could do like a downdraft. But if you have an attic, that's easy. It's very easy to pipe that out. Usually our HVAC contractors charge about $750 for that.
See, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
So
I'm giving away a lot of secrets when I'm talking these prices. This would be like a homeowner calling these people. Remember, if you hire us, you're going to pay a markup on top of that. But like, if someone calls me for that smaller stuff, I'll usually just give them a name.
Yeah. Well, because your end game is to get the whole project. You don't want these smaller things, right? You're not a handyman.
Right.
You're a builder.
You don't hire a bulldozer to like, cut down a bush, right? Like there's just a place for everything.
You were talking a little bit about some of the other projects you were part of earlier. Can you share some of those for people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think my most interesting project right now is like a baby, like a creation in my mind that I've had for a long time. I'm calling it the Modern Victorian. It's on my Instagram if you want to pull it up or something, but it is absolutely phenomenal. So what I wanted to do, there's a lot of like old restorations of like older Victorians, but I'm like, what if I built a Victorian inspired home with all the new materials? It's a full smart home. It has like complete dehumidifying and mold spore killing AC units, every single light switch, every single camera you can operate from your iPad. Also, any of the builds we're doing, we do pools that come with them too. And then we're trying to shoot for that like about 1,100 per square foot mark. So we're going to sell this. It's about a 3,000 square foot house. We're going to sell it for about 3.3 million, and that's in Zilker. Then I have, we have about 4 more lots with some pretty like crazy numbers. I mean, I'm seeing some of my colleagues who are definitely bigger operations than mine. They're starting to do spec homes up to the $10 million mark. So it is really crazy. Like I'm really looking for the biggest lot I can find to put the biggest house that I can put on it. Because it seems like a lot of these, East and West Coasters, they're coming to Texas for that. Like they want that Texas mansion. They sold their condo for $3 million and now they want to buy a house with a pool for it. Right.
Right.
A couple others. I have an amazing project that we're calling Casa Tulum. It's like a 70s house in Barton Hills, massive property. We're doing like a 1,500 square foot addition, a detached carport, and a pool. Then we have one in Westlake. It's 6,000 square feet. Yeah, this one sold for $3.5.
For how
That's
much?
a Barton Hills one.
So what style is that? Is that like planned colonial? What is that?
You'd call it transitional. It's basically soft modern. Like, so this is actually very mid-century inspired. We worked with Slick Design on this. They're incredible. But this house, like basically there's going to be a lot of modern features of clean lines and glass, but you're still going to see traditional roof lines. That wine room, man, it is incredible. That's 40 grand just for that room. It's climate controlled. The whole thing is insulated. It can hold up to like 400 bottles of wine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just, that's
This
a
is beautiful,
full
man.
shower.
Yeah,
This is incredible.
So
I am in awe.
That's floor to ceiling. That's a 10-foot tall steam shower. And what's cool is in a steam shower with a flat ceiling, you get cold drips that condensate on you. So we slope that ceiling ever so slightly so the water rolls down the back and down the side. So it's just like those little tiny details.
Touches. Yeah.
Let me point this out too, because we're talking about multi-million-dollar houses. Whether you could afford this or not, if you're in the greater Austin area, this still affects you because trickle-down economics, however you want to look at it. If this is happening in Central Austin or the West Side, similarly, the homes are still relatively the demand's still at a higher price point wherever it's going. The higher it is in Central, what I'm saying is like the quality you put in will still sell. Like this,
I totally agree.
What do you think is going to happen in Central in the next?
I honestly, I wholeheartedly believe that definitely within 10 years, anything inside the 183 loop. So that's like going, as north as like Crestview area, maybe a little more north of that. And then probably as south as like 78745.
Yeah, I consider that Central. Yes.
Yeah. I think everything in Central Austin will be $1 million or more. Everything, even like, because right now in 04, you cannot buy a lot for under $1 million. Like, I don't think people realize like you're buying a 7,000 square foot lot for a 1.1 million, So I think it's just a matter of time because Austin's really so small. I mean, what's the difference between 4.5 and 04 besides 2 miles?
Yeah. This is that time in history where Austin's going from small town to bigger city. And
right. So
Central Austin's growing because I've been in Austin for a while and people used to think downtown is Central. Now we're talking about population.
So now if you look at 183 north of Crestview, like
right
take that loop all the way around Austin. And I wholeheartedly believe that within 10 years, I'm actually going to even say that the growth is so exponential and we have so many people and companies coming here that within 5 years, we could probably be at or close to that.
Let me ask you this, John. So how many times do you come up towards like some restrictions where like they can't renovate that thing? They bought, so
Yeah.
like the market's so quick. It's like you have to put in an offer and like in a weekend you're buying this thing. You may or may not have an option period. Hopefully you do, but you get the house and now like you're over in Wilshire and what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And this is actually a common thing. I mean, people don't realize, like, first off, there's what the code will allow, but then deed restrictions. There's places that you can't build a second story. There's places that, you know, they have, depends on like the water quality control. What if the new thing is now the 100-year floodplain is now the 500-year. So you're having houses that 20 feet of the property, you can't build anything in, right? So like, this is why you need, to me, like, if you're not a pro, if you can't go and vet this out yourself, you should not buy a home without an option period. Because as simple as just calling me out there, I'll be like, look at this tree. This is a 25-inch diameter tree. That means you have to go, you take a rope or like a string 25 inches across. You cannot build in that area. You can technically build in 50% of the 50%, but still, that means you have to be 12 feet away. So it's like, you want to expand your house to the rear, you can't do it. Like, there's
you can't take the tree down because it's exceeded its 25-inch.
Well, it's 19 inches is what's protected. 24 is a heritage tree, so you need an act of Congress to take it down. You have better luck hiding a fucking dead body than cutting down a tree. I promise you that.
Oh my gosh, I love it, John. I love it so much. And it also terrifies me because I mean,
it is.
Yeah. That's why we have people like John and people like us to go around and put our eyes on it. But even then, I mean, those deed restrictions, sometimes they're from like the 40s. I can't even read that.
And
so I
like
have to pull it from title and it takes a week. So it's important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. It's a terrifying. And then another thing, they made a new rule, and you see this all the time. If power lines run down your property, you have to take a 15-foot diameter circle around each wire, and no part of the house or structure can be in that zone, all the way up to the sky. Like, and literally, I've heard of people doing this, and Austin Energy comes out and they have to move the whole fucking wall. They'll make you tear down the house.
Man.
But more simple stuff, this is easy to remember. You cannot build without exemptions. You can't build over 40% of your lot. So you just take your lot, 10.4, that's your heated and cooled. You get a 200 square foot exemption for a garage, so you can take that out. But the biggest thing that will get you is called impervious cover. That means anything that grass can't grow through, but that's also roof overhangs. If you have like a stair landing that water can't go through, that's impervious. So there's, you know, all this stuff, like you can't go over 45%. So that's probably the biggest one.
What if the stairs are wire or something like that?
Yeah, so that's also gray area. That's like, then there's so much stuff that comes down to interpretation of the reviewer. And we're just at their fucking mercy. It's nuts. I
want to come back to all that, the gray areas in just a second, but you want to read some of these comments?
Sure. Yeah, Aaron says tree law is insane too. You know, Austin loves their trees. Be careful.
I agree with you, Aaron. I'm a tree lover, but it's like when you fucking tell me that I can't build on my property, that's eminent domain, and you should be paying me for that space. That's honestly what I believe. And there's some people trying to make a class action lawsuit over that.
I have a question for you, and chime in if anybody else has one like this or something like this. So one, I want to talk about gray areas, but first I want to talk about why city limits versus any of the suburbs. Why has that been your focus?
Where I live. So like, I want to be very easily, like, I want to be able to drive to my job sites within 5 to 10 minutes because, you know, Austin, if you're driving, if I'm going to like balconies from downtown at the wrong time of day, that can take 45 minutes. So I think it's also just proximity to where I live, but also, I mean, we remodel at about, like, our rock bottom is 300 a foot. And honestly, we can't even really do that anymore. So let's just call it 350.
Say that. Hold on. 300 a foot.
Yes. So if you hire me,
I wanted to be very clear.
Right. So
as my hopes and dream crumble and
but there's other people, there's people young in their career that need to get the work and stuff, right? Like, luckily I'm fortunate enough to where I'm really starting to spread my wings, and I'm super thankful of that.
And I can see your passion, and it's
Oh,
exciting. And so I'm really glad that I think you found your calling for sure.
thank you. Yeah,
And
yeah.
the projects speak for themselves, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't get some high-end artist or a photographer to come out if you only want to pay them pennies, right? Same thing.
Yeah,
with you.
100%. And what we do, it is half art and half just substance of like work, right? But it is there's a lot of things that's up for interpretation. So to answer that further, I want to be working in places between that the new homes or even old homes, they're starting at about 800 a foot and going up to 1100 a foot. Then when we come in at like 400 a foot, it justifies our cost. And it's just like the reason is it's just so much more complex to build there that it's not even like we're just overcharging. It's just like it takes 18 months to build a freaking house.
And at that point, the equity in those homes is already absorbing some of the costs, like you said.
100%. I mean,
the increase in equity.
Yeah. Like even when we do a spec home, I bought a lot for 670. It was worth 1.1 million before we started construction. Like just outrageous,
And you mentioned earlier, you don't see that slowing down. Why do you say that is?
Because I mean, we are in a housing crisis. We have such a shortage. I mean, y'all know the inventory is at what, like 30 days or something?
About 30
It
days.
is just over a month right now.
Yeah.
1.1.
So remember when we were at like 6 months and they were like, this is unsustainable. This is insane.
Well,
we're at 1 month.
I don't know if you're hearing it here first, but Lennar just announced that they're building a community in Austin, all 3D built homes. Lennar homes.
All what?
3D printed.
Yeah, printed. Sorry, 3D printed.
Aren't they partnering with like Icon for that?
I don't know who the partner is, but yeah.
So Icon is a big company. They just got like $250 million and they're doing, 3D printed concrete homes.
Yep.
They still have a lot of kinks to work out, but I think it's an awesome concept.
But you're not going to get the John version of a house. You're just going to get there's a square. And there are a couple of communities like that are doing something modular, and they're neat, but
some
I
people
don't know that that's mass market yet. Kind of like electric vehicles. Who's going to read?
Yeah, but last thing, just to answer that, we have such low inventory and the code is so hard to work with and it takes us so long to build that we're never going to catch up from the shortage. So take out Austin, just look at it as supply and demand. There's just way more people that want to buy and need to buy than there are homes listed. So just for that sake alone.
I agree. So Aaron says, well, labor is going through the roof too. I just spent $140 to have someone hang pictures. These numbers don't shock me. So John, to close it out a bit, if someone's looking to build their dream home or do an add-on or do a custom home, what steps do they take? How would
what does that process look like?
Yeah, differentiate from another builder.
Yeah, so I think what you want to do is you want to come to someone like me early. Because if I'm on your side, I will help guide you. Because what people do is they'll get with an architect who's amazing, but they'll make like a really crazy project. And like the architects, they don't know the actual cost of construction. Like that's just flat out it. They're amazing at what they do. I'm not going to knock them. I love architects, but you need to have a builder that is taking your decisions, and you need to know every cost implication of every decision you're making. Because you want to be able to go down the right path instead of like pushing something a year and realizing it's double your budget.
And have your lot in mind too, because that's where the builder and the architect really need to be on the same page, because you're looking at different elevations and things that, and architects are thinking flat.
Yep.
Yeah,
like that's exactly right. And you want to so you want to do that. But like, when you ask like, why us, we're a special company. And I would say in the scheme of things, we're pretty small. Like there's some companies that do 30 to 50 homes a year, right? We do like, we're starting to get into maybe 8 to 10. So I'm a lot more hands-on, where you're going to get like just really, I call it like concierge service. Like I am so overly communicative and like try to get in front of a lot of issues. But take all that out of it. Every single client I've ever had, I don't have one single bad review that's under 5 stars. Actually, I have 1 star for my driving when I had a sign on the side of my truck. So I took the sign off. It's just, I can't not drive shitty. But all of our reviews, every single client, like they have been 100% satisfied. So kind of my motto is 100% satisfaction 100% of the time. I mean, I've had to, you know, it happens. Like we're only human. Construction is crisis management. Shit goes wrong and I have to come out of pocket a lot to fix stuff, but that's just what it is, you know?
What have been some of the most exciting things that people have said, you know what, this has been my dream all along, and you were like, I can make that happen?
Hell yeah. I mean, they're like, you know, that kitchen that we won the national award with is a guy that I've become such good friends with. And actually one of those disasters, we had a structural engineer give us a size on a beam, sign off on it that we did it right, and it started sagging. The fucking house started cracking.
Goodness.
So I ripped it out and I put a steel I-beam across the whole kitchen like that, fixed the problem, jacked it up, all the cracks were gone. It ended up being the most glorious thing that like he loves so much because there's this massive steel beam and it adds to the industrial design. And like,
yeah,
I just love how like just the most awesome part of this project came out from like a massive disaster, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like when I really cemented to me that what I tell myself when shit goes like haywire, there is always a path forward. There's always a path forward. Like everything can be negotiated, or you can always go to a different product or find someone else that can do it right. Like you're never backed into a corner.
That's beautiful.
Most expensive project to date?
1.8 million. I'm really trying to break that $2 million mark. So
I love that.
I mean, look what you're getting from John. I mean, there are like, I mean, I don't want to badmouth them because they're also really beautiful builders, but I mean, there are inventory homes that are selling for way less than that. I mean, way more than that. It's like, and they're
Thank you, HJ. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And that's where also I'm just like, this is what sucks is that there's people that are forced into buying. It's like, there's just a lot of stuff that's overlooked. And it's like, you know, it's funny, like you call it punch out. Like some builders, they have a project. We're like a week left to like make it 100% perfect because we're so anal along the way, right? So I just want people to like walk into our houses and their mouths to just hit the floor. Like I want every little nook and cranny to just be perfect, you know?
That's awesome.
So yeah, a lot of the construction that's happening right now, a lot of the new construction, the builders are pressuring the buyers to close when things still aren't complete.
No, that's the worst thing you could ever do.
It's under warranty. I get it. I get everybody's got their timelines, but it is absolutely frustrating because the buyers are like, well, I can't move in.
Yeah.
So why would I close?
My shower pan's cracked. What am I going to do? I just bought this, you know, $2 million house in Lakeway and I can't take a shower. Like, and
remember,
getting away with it.
Yeah. And remember, that's when you have the leverage. A builder will fix nearly anything you want them to fix while they know that they have to do it to get to the finish line. Mm-hmm. Once they have that, they're like, okay, put it on the back burner. We'll get to that later. Like, it's just natural for all humans to do. When you have are waiting to close on a house, you have all the leverage in the world. And I would say you want to be negotiating those little things from a position of strength instead of begging people to come help.
So the one caveat to that I'm gonna combat you just a little bit. The one caveat is if you started the new build process and you locked in a price and now you could sell it for 100,000 more.
Yeah.
Right. Because the builder is like, I dare you not to close.
Yeah.
Because then they can go sell it and make more money.
Yeah, but think about this.
Done the work. No, that's shady. I'm just saying they can do it.
No, for sure. But you also have to look at well, guess what? I am allowed to push this out because you're not fucking done. Mm-hmm. So it's not more about me pushing closing out for an erroneous reason. Right. You are not done with this fucking house, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just imagine if you had to move across country, the build wasn't done, and the builder's like, fine, don't close. We'll sell your house to somebody else.
Yeah.
I've
experienced that, and it's unbelievable. But sad. It happens.
Miss Dill Pickle says, congrats on the continued success. It is so important to trust your builder.
Thank you, Miss Pickle. Settling as in foundation settling?
Well, I think it's you can expect to see some hairline cracks in the first 6 months to a year.
especially the expensive homes, I think is what he's like, you know, the ones
Yeah,
that are 4,000 square foot,
Right.
but all single story flat.
So what we do, that like our structural engineer, you really want your foundation pretty much over engineered. We put massive, they're called grade beams. It's like in a hash mark pattern through the whole slab, 3 and 4 feet deep. Then listen to this. We do these things called chemical injections that takes the plasticity out of the soil, so so it doesn't expand and contract.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like we're really minimizing that. I will say there are certain times where there's some settlement in the framing, or like, but then you find out there's a tree too close and the wind's smacking it on the house or something, you know?
Do you know any production builders that are doing that?
No, I think
what I thought.
I think chemical injections are a new thing anyways, but it's
someone did ask me about them, and I'm so curious because I have never heard of it before, but they're
fantastic.
John.
I mean, it's relatively like, you know, we pay maybe $5,000 to have the whole perimeter and then all inside of the slab at the 3-foot radius done. And it's like, dude, it just, people love it because, you know, you're going to get this warranty of like, this shit is just not going to move, or if so, it's going to be very minimal.
Mm-hmm. All right. We are starting to hit time. So you want to close out, JJ?
I wish we had more time.
I know it goes fast, but we could always have a part 2, 3, or 4.
Sure, I'm down. Anytime you guys comment. Want me back.
I'm just looking forward to digging into John's Instagram and website and just salivating over those beautiful pictures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, John, any other last words on the dream house of 2022? We could close out with that.
Yeah, people that have land or have a house in Austin and they're like, I know I've got the equity, I want to hire you. Give them some advice other than hire you.
Well, first off, yeah, you want to talk to a really good lender. Right now, a home improvement loan. So a new construction is a little hairy, but if you're doing a home improvement loan to a home you already live in, your rate should be in the low 4s or high 3s, which is fantastic. And also, you want to push for 80% LTV. Like, so there's some banks that try to stiff you on that. Like, just, the lowest you should ever take is 75% LTV. So start there. Make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck and that your lender is on top of it. And then after that, my honest advice, and this is obviously self-serving, is if you have the room, even if it's a stretch, go and build out that property as much as you possibly can. Do not jump over dollars to grab pennies, because in 5 years, you're going to be thanking the Lord that you built out that extra 500 square feet. In a place where it's $1,000 a foot, that's $500,000. That's like if you can do it, like stomach it and like don't cut corners. Obviously within reason, but that'd be like my biggest advice, and I really try to push clients to do that, to pay me more, right?
That sounds like a whole other episode with financing.
Everybody watching this, if you want John to come back real soon, give us the go ahead on the comments. Mark, thank you, Mark. Book of John Part 2.
Thank you so much, John. Everybody, this has been so inspiring, and I've enjoyed it so much. So y'all enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a spooky Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care, guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone. Thanks, John.
Spew bullshit.